government that we will not be complicit in the war crimes of Israel, and we support Palestinian national and human rights. Our next speaker is from the Green Party, because support for the Palestinians comes from across the whole political spectrum. Felicity Norman from the Green Party.
Hello. I'm very glad to be here with you, showing solidarity with the people of Gaza who are suffering so terribly. We want them to know that there are demonstrations being held all over the world, as well as in many UK towns and cities, including a very rural area where I come from. There are people who still care and still want to be involved. My daughters tell me that in their universities there are huge sit-ins and rallies, and I believe that's happening in many, many universities across our country. They need to know, the people of Palestine, the people of Gaza need to know that among these protesters are some brave Jewish people, both in Israel and elsewhere, who are in fact ashamed and horrified by the brutal Israeli invasion. There can be no military solution, no just solution of this conflict through force. The violence we are witnessing reinforces hatred of Israel and makes negotiation the only way forward even more difficult. In those places where a kind of peace has finally been established, such as Northern Ireland or South Africa, negotiation finally achieved agreement following years and decades of futile and heartbreaking violence. As in Northern Ireland, we must move beyond the refusal to talk to so-called terrorists and recognise the attempts of part of Hamas to take the democratic route and respond to that, rather than continuing to ignore their legitimate role and thus generating more violence. Both sides must cease their attacks, and Israel must withdraw. Because of the massive imbalance of power, it is Israel whose actions have been so utterly devastating, with over 1,000 dead in Gaza. It must stop now, If the reports of cluster bombs, depleted uranium shells and phosphorus bombs are found to be accurate, then charges of war crime may well be appropriate. The invasion demonstrates how massively both the blockade and the building of the cruel wall have failed, either to protect Israel or to advance a peaceful future for either side in this conflict. It has strengthened those in Hamas who favour violence and weakened the possibility of peaceful democratic process. The European Parliament, and I'm standing for that Parliament, the European Parliament has supported a resolution put forward by Green MEPs calling for a ceasefire and for Israel to withdraw. And we call on our government to support this move. Along with many others, the Green Party is calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, which may be coming up, an immediate lifting of the blockade of Gaza, the suspension of the EU-Israel agreements, an iniquitous development which we want to see stopped right now, an end to the export of arms and military equipment to Israel. It's outrageous that we're still doing that, and a boycott of Israeli goods, which I know many of you will support. So we in the Green Party are with you, and we support all the actions that are being taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Felicity Norman.